Right now, a terrifying wave of destruction is tearing through New Mexico. Entire towns are being ripped apart by relentless flash floods. Homes crushed, roads gone, cars swept away like leaves, and the water's still rising. Emergency sirens echoed through Ruidoso and Lincoln County as a fierce storm system unloaded nearly a foot of rain in just hours, turning peaceful neighborhoods into chaotic rivers. The National Weather Service issued back-to-back flash flood emergencies for the region, warning of a particularly dangerous situation. Their message was simple and chilling. Do not go outside. Seek higher ground immediately. By 6:45 p.m. local time, the Rio Ruidoso had surged past 14 feet, shattering previous flood records and stunning even veteran responders. What had been a scenic, tree-lined stream just hours earlier was now a violent, churning river, swallowing bridges and reshaping the town in real time. Families had minutes, sometimes seconds to act. Many didn't even grab shoes. Some ran barefoot through rising water, clutching babies, dogs, backpacks they could carry. Living rooms filled with water before headlights even reached the driveway. Kitchen chairs floated, fridges tipped, televisions cracked and sparked. By the time evacuees looked back, their homes were already gone. In Midtown, Ruidoso, it was chaos. Footage captured on cell phones shows vehicles floating sideways down Sutterth Drive, spinning like toys in a flooded parking lot. Pickup trucks collided with sedans, some flipping, others piling up like bumper cars in a grim slow-motion crash. Storefront windows shattered under the pressure. Mannequins drifted out of broken boutiques. Tables from a cafe were later found over half a mile downstream. People filmed from balconies screaming, crying, calling loved ones, and underneath it all, that deafening sound of rushing water, crashing into everything Ruidoso thought was permanent. But by now, nothing was dot in the Upper Canyon area. The devastation turned personal, fast and unforgettable. On a quiet hillside tucked among pine trees, a two-story cabin strong, weathered, built to last decades, was suddenly no match for the flood. Within seconds, it was ripped from its foundation, the support beams snapping one by one like matchsticks. Neighbors said it sounded like gunfire echoing through the canyon, the sharp, brutal crack of wood being torn apart by pressure it was never meant to withstand. One woman who had lived just 2 doors down watched it happen from her second-story window. She later told emergency crews, her voice still shaking, "I thought it was an earthquake. Everything rumbled. Then I saw my neighbor's truck float past my window, and I knew something was horribly wrong." She grabbed her dog, her purse, and nothing else. Moments later, the cabin was gone. Carried downstream, it slammed into a stand of trees and broke apart, walls collapsing. Furniture spilling into the current, windows exploding outward as water filled every room. Wooden beams, roofing panels, and even pieces of porch furniture were later found nearly a mile away, wedged between rocks and wrapped around utility poles. People in the area had no time to think, no time to pack, no time to even call for help. The water arrived with the force of a freight train, not rising gently, but charging forward, erasing everything in its path. For residents of Upper Canyon, this was the moment everything changed. Not just physically, but emotionally. Because when a house that stood for generations disappears in minutes, you realize this isn't just weather. This is a war zone. Local officials say dozens of 911 calls came in, all at once, many from people trapped in attics or climbing onto rooftops, waving flashlights into the darkness. First responders were stretched thin, launching boats, and even requesting air rescue from the state. "We've never seen anything move this fast," said one rescue team leader. "We're pulling people out of areas we thought were safe." Meanwhile, the damage wasn't staying put, it was spreading fast and without mercy. Flash flooding. It has now been officially confirmed across Otero, Chaves, and Lincoln counties, expanding the zone of devastation far beyond Ruidoso. In Roswell, storm drains already outdated and under pressure backed up within minutes, forcing water to surge onto streets and spill into businesses, clinics, and public buildings. Several schools suffered water damage, with classrooms soaked and supplies ruined. Some officials described it as a complete loss. Local shop owners scrambled to raise sandbags, but many were too late. Downed power lines crackled at major intersections, and entire neighborhoods were left unreachable. Further south, Highway 70 eastbound was shut down entirely after flood, submerged both lanes near Mescalero, stranding motorists and cutting off one of the region's main arteries. Long lines of cars sat motionless, trapped between roadblocks and rising water, while emergency vehicles tried to reroute traffic across unpaved side roads. Transportation officials warned that continued rainfall could cause even more closures. In the hours to come, across southern New Mexico, What began as a localized flood has now grown into a regional emergency, stretching resources thin and leaving thousands unsure of what's next. Meteorologists now confirm that this disaster is being driven by a stalled monsoon system, a powerful, moisture-packed engine of tropical air that's become trapped over southern New Mexico. It's the worst-case scenario for this region, a slow-moving storm that refuses to move on, fueling hour after hour of relentless rainfall, each wave heavier than the last. And because the ground was already saturated from earlier storms, it's now acting like concrete unable to absorb a single drop. Water has nowhere to go. It rolls off hillsides, rushes into dry creeks, and overflows onto streets, fields, and homes. With nowhere to drain, even moderate rain becomes catastrophic. As of late evening, some areas had recorded over 11 inches of rainfall. Not just a shocking number, but officially the highest ever documented in a 24-hour period for this part of New Mexico. Records that have stood for decades broken in one night. But the most terrifying part, it's not over. Forecast models show the monsoon system could linger for another 24 to 48 hours. With daily storm cells developing every afternoon and evening, that means more rain, more flash floods, and more danger for communities that are already drowning. And 4 rescue teams on the ground. Every hour of rain is another hour of risk. The National Weather Service has now extended its flood watch through Thursday, citing radar data showing multiple storm cells poised to strike again. Overnight, these aren't just passing showers, they're slow moving, high-intensity systems capable of dumping inches of rain in less than an hour. And that's the nightmare scenario. Emergency officials are sounding the alarm. Repeat flash floods are highly likely. That means the same neighborhoods that are already flooded, already gutted, could be hit again before they even begin to recover. Sandbags are useless against a second wave. Basements that were just pumped out could refill in minutes. People who just returned home may be forced to flee again. In Ruidoso Downs, the situation has turned tragic. A mobile home park near the southern edge of town, already vulnerable from earlier storms, was completely destroyed overnight. Trailers were flipped like toys, their frames crumpled, their roofs torn away. Foundations were ripped apart, exposing plumbing and wiring that twisted into the water like roots torn from the earth. Survivors said they heard screams cutting through, the rain mothers yelling for their children, elderly residents pounding on doors, people begging for help in the darkness as the floodwaters rose. Some families had only seconds to escape, climbing through windows or smashing out back doors with furniture, and not everyone made it out. Rescue crews are still combing the area, searching wreckage, calling out names, marking homes with spray paint. The water has receded just enough to reveal the damage, but not enough to reveal the full cost. Authorities have confirmed multiple fatalities as of tonight, though exact numbers remain unconfirmed while rescue teams continue searching. The Red Cross has set up emergency shelters at Ruidoso High School and the Convention Center. Both are already near capacity. Power outages are now widespread, plunging entire communities across southern New Mexico into darkness. As of the latest emergency report, more than 18,000 homes and businesses are without electricity, many of them in remote or mountainous areas where roads are flooded or blocked by debris. For families already dealing with flood damage, the power loss has made things worse. No lights, no heat, no communication, cell towers are overloaded, Wi-Fi is down, and in some areas, even emergency radio signals are patchy. Worse still, downed power lines are sparking small fires, especially in hard-to-reach areas near forested slopes. Fire crews can't get their trucks through the mud and rising water, and helicopters can't fly safely in the storm. In some places, homes are burning while floodwater surrounds them. Utility crews are working through the night, navigating washed-out roads, fallen trees, and unstable ground just to access substations and repair lines. Some workers are wading through waist-deep water, gear on their backs, guided by flashlight beams and sheer instinct. They're risking their lives in the dark on slick rooftops, inside flooded junction boxes, in silence. And even as they work, the weather isn't giving them a break. Conditions remain extremely dangerous. With lightning still active, visibility near zero, and more rain on the way, but the crews keep going because for thousands of residents, electricity isn't just a comfort, it's survival. In Alto, north of Ruidoso, the community water treatment plant was overrun by floodwaters, prompting a boil water advisory for the entire area. City officials say it could take days to restore safe drinking water. Drone footage taken just after sunset reveals a haunting sight, rooftops barely visible above the waterline, parks turned to lakes, an entire neighborhood swallowed whole. Volunteers are stepping in to help, handing out blankets, Food, dry clothes as the temperature drops and the rain continues. This week's disaster is already being called one of the worst weather events in New Mexico history. What was supposed to be a quiet summer week leading into the 4th of July has become a living nightmare for thousands, and there's more to come. Meteorologists are tracking a second wave of storms building in Arizona, expected to hit the same region in the next 36 hours. If the forecasts hold, already devastated towns could face double flooding a situation emergency managers are calling extremely rare and extremely dangerous. Governor Michelle Luane Grisham has issued a statewide disaster declaration, unlocking federal resources from FEMA and deploying the National Guard to assist with rescue operations. High-water vehicles and helicopters are being sent to the worst-hit areas. Still, officials are urging people to stay home, stay off the roads, and stay alert for rapid changes in weather. If you're in New Mexico tonight, please don't take chances. A flash flood doesn't wait, it doesn't knock, it doesn't slow down, and by the time you see it, it may already be too late. This is not just weather, this is a crisis. Stay with us as we continue to bring you updates from the ground. Speak to those impacted and track the next storm system. Thank you for watching. Please stay safe, stay dry, and we'll see you in the next video.